Welcome to By the Books, the podcast helping business owners navigate the complex world of business, tax, and bookkeeping. Now, to the owner and president of Kline, Lindsay Kline.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you've joined us today. This is Lindsay Kline with By the Books, Sikline.com. Honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. And I have an awesome guest today. Shelli Jarvis is here with Shelli Jarvis, Coach for Life. And I always love talking to the business coaches. So my understanding is that you have a bachelor's in Christian ministry, and you had a lot of time overseas where you've done, a wealth of things, but started some churches, have developed a lot of nonprofit leaders. You told me you have 25 years of experience developing leaders in nonprofit ministry, which is amazing. Yes. And so that ultimately led you to start pursuing a certification in life coaching and starting your coaching business.
That's right.
And so whenever I met you, you and I had a face-to-face meeting, and I feel like we had some of that good chemistry. Like we were connected. And I always love meeting with coaches because you guys just have like a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. And I try to be a sponge and just like soak up as much as I can. So you're one of those people that definitely I felt like I walked away from the meeting with so much more than I came in with.
Yes.
So
likewise.
I'm so glad that you came on today. And so today we're talking about coaching business owners and how to coach their people.
Right.
And you specifically mentioned coaching dreamers.
Yeah.
So will you talk a little bit about that and what that means?
Yeah. So I want to kind of make a little distinction real quickly between coaching and counseling.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, when they hear coaches, they automatically put them in the category with counselors.
Yeah.
And I have great respect for the counselors in the world. They do amazing work. And at one point in my life, I had friends saying, you should really go into counseling, because people would come and ask questions and for advice or whatever. And it just didn't seem to be a fit for me. Mm-hmm. Counseling tends to deal more with trauma, with people who have, possibly abuse or whatever in their background. The therapist has the answers for the client most of the time, or the resources they need. It seemed to be more backward focus, digging into your past, etc.
Right.
Whereas coaching is actually very positive. The philosophy behind it is very positive. It's forward focused. It's helping people. I like to joke and say it's anything, it's helping people achieve their goals. Anything from, I want to get my closets cleaned out and I don't know why I'm not doing that. It's anything from that to all the way to, I've got this relational situation with my husband. We're not communicating, or I want to start a new business. I want to build a new career. It's any of those kinds of things, but it always is positive and forward focused. It's helping people achieve their dreams, achieve the things that they want to do in life. And it's so rewarding for me as a coach to get to come alongside someone and support them in what they want to do with their life. And so
That's awesome. And you mentioned even the thing about the closets, I could see where even something that maybe on the surface appears small, that it mentally does wear on us.
That's exactly
especially
right.
as business owners, we probably don't realize all the clutter in our lives and how it affects our day-to-day activities.
Yes, I actually even have a little exercise that I've done with clients that's on one side. And, the coaching world is all full of sharing ideas. So this was not original to me, but on one side of this sheet of paper, you have your energy drainers, and so it's that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Like, what are the things that are low key draining my life? And one of those, maybe I've got this closet that I need to clean out or whatever. And it's just back there. It's not really in the forefront of my mind day to day, but it's back there just niggling and pulling a little bit of my energy.
You're right.
And coaching helps kind of maybe deal with the mindset of why am I stuck in dealing with this, or why is it something back there that I'm not attending to? So
it reminds me of a book I read called Bright Line Eating. And the doctor that wrote it, she talks about what willpower is and how the day-to-day things that we do, even things like answering emails, when we have to make that decision of, do I keep this email? Do I forward it? Do I reply? Even those decisions that we make all throughout the day, they're actually wearing down our willpower.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yes, there's a lot of work in the coaching world too around, this is another fascinating topic for another time, but on decision fatigue, because it's
interesting.
I think I can't even remember the number. It's something like 25,000 decisions you have to make during a day or whatever. It's a crazy number. And it's the reason that guys like Steve Jobs ended up wearing a black mock turtleneck and jeans and tennis shoes, and like that's one less thing he had to spend the mental energy
Interesting.
on. Yeah.
Well, and she was talking about how that's why at the end of the day we have so much less willpower. How we in the morning we get started on a good note, but by the time we've put kids to bed and gotten to the end of the day, we're going to the freezer for ice cream.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's right. There was a study done on that too about even judges and parolees, and that the closer they got to the end of the day, the more they denied parole, because they were just, worn out with making those decisions.
That's really interesting. So how do you as a coach, specifically even with business owners, how do you help them through that and getting sort of that? How do you fix that, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yes. So one thing that I really like to work with coaches on is let me think how to say this. So pretty much any employee in the business world, any business owner even, is someone who has purpose, and they're walking through the world. They've got things they are interested in or whatever. There's a guy named Matthew Kelly. He's an author, a speaker. He speaks to a lot of business owners, and he has a quote from a book that I read, and he had 3 things that he talks about with what people need. And those things are meaningful work, a sense they're progressing and advancing, and a belief that they're moving towards a fulfillment of their dreams. So everybody out there is a dreamer in some kind of way. And, what you said about all these decisions we have, those tend to kind of eat away at the things that we really dream about and that we want to do. We tend to, they suck the life out of us so that we don't get to attend to those. So I've got, a few little tips on how employees can help with
Let's
that.
hear it.
Okay.
I am really interested in this because I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So you actually posted an article the other day on LinkedIn by an author named Ian Daly. That was a great little article, I thought. And it was called Great Employees Don't Complain, They Walk Away.
Yes.
And number 2 on that article was to be curious. And that is a huge principle of coaching, to be curious with your people. And whether it's your clients, for me as a coach, I'm coming to the table with my client with curiosity. I'm saying, what do they want to gain from this session? What do they want to learn? And so a business owner can do that same thing. They can be curious and say, what does this employee need out of this work environment? And so there's all kinds of questions.
I love that.
Yeah,
I just hired my 3rd employee, and when I first put my job ad up, I just kind of copied a template for a job ad and started sort of filling in the blanks.
Right.
And about halfway through it, I was like, you know what? I don't like this. This is not me.
It's not you. Right.
And I deleted the whole thing and I rewrote it. And I just really wrote from the heart. And it turned into something that absolutely did not look like a job ad whatsoever. But
you're so good at that. You're so good at making it fun.
But that was one thing that I've always been passionate about is no matter what my business is, I want it to be as much about the employees and the culture as it is about the service and my clients.
Exactly.
And so that's really what I wanted the heart of that job. Even though it was just a job ad, I wanted people to see what your goal is
Sure.
my goal.
Yes.
And wherever you want to go, even if it's to own your own business,
Right.
that's not in competition with me.
Right.
Let me help you achieve that.
Yes, that's such a serving mindset. I mean, that's such a service-minded attitude to have. And if you look at companies around the world, the ones that do the best have that sort of mindset where they can say, hey, we're going to make this a great culture where we're serving our people, they're lifted up, and they're ultimately, they're rah-rah all about this team because they feel they're gaining something themselves. They're benefiting from that service that you're providing, and it in turn makes them want to serve. And that's really,
and I'm really trying
cool.
to be more concerted about that because it's not necessarily something that comes naturally to me. I am a very task-oriented person. I'm not, because you have task-oriented people and you have people-oriented people.
Yes.
And so I have to make a concerted effort to say, instead of just going straight to the point with employees, okay, we need to get X, Y, D done.
Right,
okay,
right.
Wait, no, I need to stop, ask them how their day is going. How is their family? So it's not something that naturally I think to do, but I realize the importance of it and therefore need to be concerted about doing that.
Yeah, and I think that's true for a lot of us. We're kind of getting our own little rut, our own little space and doing our own thing.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily natural. Otherwise, things like the coaching world wouldn't have come to be.
Right.
If it were natural for us all, we wouldn't need coaches or whatever.
Right.
And, there's even some, I have a few little tips on even that.
Really? Do give. I need them.
So one of the things coaching assumes when you're trained as a coach, you're trained to be a learner, not a judger. And of course, there's all kinds of stuff in the world today about don't judge me or whatever. But when you can come with the attitude of a learner, and so there's a little distinction between what learners look like and what judgers look like.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Does this go into the Myers-Briggs? Is that one of the Myers-Briggs components? The personality test?
So I think that's that's more to do with like drawing conclusions. And
okay, gotcha. So this is different. This is not what that is.
Yeah,
okay.
This is a little different than that. So this is more like a persona. The judger kind of persona tends to be blame focused, and there's a win-lose mindset. So kind of like what you were saying, as opposed to saying how can I help people. The judger mindset tends to say, what's wrong with that guy? How come this employee did this or whatever? And,
right.
And you see that at times people don't even realize it.
Yes.
I can do that while I'm driving down the road. Like, that person just cut me off
right.
or whatever.
Right.
You have that kind of mindset. Or whose fault is it? As opposed to saying in a learner mindset, you are solution focused, like what you were saying. You want to have a win-win. So you're saying, how can I serve this employee? And ultimately knowing that will benefit me, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm not doing it to benefit me. I'm doing it because I genuinely care
right.
about this person. And so I ask, things like, what's possible for this employee to do, or maybe they have ideas that I wouldn't have. And anytime you can make those kind of assumptions, it's definitely going to be a win-win for your business.
And this is one reason why I appreciate different personality tests, the DISC test and the Myers-Briggs, because it helps me understand somebody else's viewpoint, somebody else's motivations, and how they're wired very differently from me.
Yes,
how they receive information very differently from me.
So true.
So I think that goes a long way from seeing it from a different perspective instead of saying, why would they do that? If you understand how they're wired, you understand why they did it that way.
Yes. And you can say, wow, this employee is really great at this particular thing.
Yes.
I worked in an environment at one point where we had this guy that was phenomenal with like mechanical things, and you could just ask him any kind of question. And he just had this perspective on how to build stuff, and so he was super useful in certain areas because he knew all the mechanics of how an auto part worked or whatever. He knew those kinds of things, and so he was fascinating to rely on. But anytime you can do that as a business owner and say, people come, and this goes to my next point, that people have dreams, as going back to the Matthew Kelly thing. Everybody who walks in to your business, including you as a business owner, you had a dream when you started that business.
Oh, of course.
Yes. You knew you wanted a stable lifestyle for your family. And that's true of employees as well. And I think sometimes as business owners or as managers even, we tend to assume people just want to make more money. That's a common assumption, I think, with business owners and managers, that if this person could just make an extra $1 or $2 an hour, that's not what everyone's dream is.
You're right.
There are so many people out there. I've worked with folks who they just wanted to know, especially in the days of Corona now, they just wanted to know they were going to get to come to work every day. And what mattered to them was a stable environment.
Safety.
Yes, safety. That's exactly right. And that goes back to the personality stuff, too.
Yes.
That not everybody is in it for the next dollar. Some people want to know, hey, my ideas are valued here. And
that is so true.
That they want to have value because maybe they grew up in a family where they were the middle kid and they were overlooked or whatever. And so it matters a lot more to them to just be valued for their ideas or their perspective.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And I've seen that not only with my own employees or children or clients' employees, that some people are motivated by money. They are you get some kind of bonus or incentive and they're motivated. Sometimes it's recognition. In fact, it reminds me, I used to wait tables, and the restaurant I worked at, it was so simple, but they had a marker board in the kitchen and they would put the top sellers for the week.
Oh, wow.
And there was me and one other guy. We were highly competitive. And just the fact that we could get our name on that board.
Yes.
That was all it took.
Yes,
we got nothing except our name on the board. But that's that all it, so sometimes it's that competitiveness, so it's different people are wired differently.
Right. That's so true.
And there was other people on the wait staff, they couldn't care less if their name was on that board.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes. I've got a son who, for him having the incentives of those monetary bonuses, he's in sales. And so that makes a big difference for him. If he can, if he can get that next bonus or whatever, that matters a lot to him. But I've got a daughter who is more about the recognition. If somebody says to her, hey, what Leah Jarvis did today was really meaningful and she served our organization, then, she just
that would mean so much more to her.
Yeah, she's in a sorority and just got a tiny little scholarship toward her graduate work that she's about to do. But the sorority, when they presented, and the scholarship it was big to her, but it was small monetarily compared to what she needs. But
it was the recognition factor.
Yes, they when they introduced this scholarship, they talked about all the ways that she had served their little sorority.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and little shout out to my daughter there.
Oh.
And my son, like I said, he's a top selling guy at his company because those dollars matter to him. And so every time they put the carrot out there, he's out there going for it and he's doing it,
Yeah.
But it's all about whose personality is what and not making those assumptions that everybody's just here for the bottom dollar because they're not.
Well, and it goes back to that curiosity, finding out what makes people tick.
Exactly.
What is it that motivates that employee?
Right.
What would make them feel valuable? What would make them feel safe? Whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And what it is for one employee or one child, if you're putting it into a parent perspective, is not going to be the same for another.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you can come to the workspace with the shift in that mindset, I like to tell this little story from my young days. And this is actually on my website too, I think, as an intro. But when I was about 10 years old, my family took a trip with our church we went to Raton, New Mexico, and then we went over the border into Colorado. Well, as a young little Texan, I'd never been to the mountains. And so of course, as a small child, in elementary school, you draw a picture of a mountain. Okay. And so, you draw with the little points and everything. And so in my 10-year-old head, my picture of the mountains was, they were pointed.
Yeah.
And they look pointed, So we go and we're, they tell us we're going to climb this mountain. And so our whole little church group goes into Colorado and I'm so excited. We're going to climb this mountain. So I climb up the mountain and we get to the top and I'm picturing, before I get there that I'm going to stand on tiptoe on the point of the top of this mountain. That's my picture in my head. And so we get there and there's nothing like that. It's just like, it's all just not flat, but it's, just kind of rounded and like the tip of a mountain would be or whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it would be at all. It's not at all what I thought it would look like, but it was beautiful. And I got to see, just this huge valley.
Nice.
And see a whole different perspective. And so I had to shift my own thinking about what a mountain really was.
Yeah.
And that's the same for a lot of us as business owners and managers. We have to shift. What do I think this employee is, or who do I think they are? I have to be able to say, wow, they have maybe different priorities or different desires or different dreams than I thought they did. And when I can do that for them, it's also possible they see that in me.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow Simon Sinek?
I know he's a major thought leader. Yeah.
Yes.
He's
I absolutely love his stuff, but he put out a video the other day on LinkedIn where he talked about how your employees, if you really demonstrate to them that you care about them and you care about them more than the bottom line, they're going to give you blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes, that's so true.
I loved it. True. I mean, he's so eloquent, so he says it way better than I do. But I mean, his video, like, I was fired up after watching that because it motivated me so much that I really need to make sure I'm letting my employees know on a daily basis, I care about you. You personally.
Yes.
And what happens to you. Yes. I think that is so important.
Yes. And there's actually, so one of the people I follow is a lady named Dr. Caroline Leaf. And she does,
familiar.
Oh my goodness. I'm so fascinated by the area of neurobiology and neurology.
And
she's fascinating.
She's very brilliant.
Yes, she is. She's brilliant. She does clinical trials, and shout out to Caroline Leaf. But I've read
maybe I
several
could get her
of
on my
books.
podcast one day.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I'm wanting to get her on mine. Like when I get one started, that'd be awesome. So, but she does all this work on building a healthy brain. So there were studies done, just to summarize a little bit, there were studies done up until really, I think like 10 or 15 years ago that assumed the brain kind of like you reached a certain point, 18 or 21 years old or so, once you got to adult age, your brain stopped growing and changing, and that you were just stuck with whatever the shape your brain was in, you were stuck there. Well, she's done all this research and work and figured out that your brain, she's one of the people that has figured out your brain never stops growing. You can always make your brain healthier.
Nice.
But that comes from having, so I don't know if you remember a few years back, remember eHarmony?
Yes.
The whole neuroplasticity. That's what that has to do with.
Interesting.
Is that your brain is always growing and changing and developing, and you can make it healthier or you can kill off cells. And she calls them thought trees, I think it is. But the more that you can spend time building positive thoughts and demonstrating love towards people and care for them and serving them, that's actually making your brain healthier. There's real neurological science behind that.
That's interesting.
And so, again, back to the business world, if you're serving your employees, that little rush of adrenaline you get when wow, I've made someone's day.
Yes.
I mean, I've made them happier or they've worked better today. And then in turn, that does that for them. So you're helping to create healthier employees physically, neurologically, emotionally. And also that in turn is going to benefit your business in the long run.
Yes.
So
That's so good. I love that.
yeah, it's fascinating work. So.
I love that. Absolutely. And that definitely speaks to my passion and goal for my own company. So you got me fired up again.
Well, good. Yes.
So tell people how they can find you. I know you have a website.
Yes.
Any other contact information that you can share?
Yeah, you can find me at shellijarvis.com.
Okay.
And you can email me at hello@shellijarvis.com.
Now spell your name, because there's about 1,000 ways to spell Shelli.
That's right. That's so good that you mentioned that. I wouldn't have even thought about that. Yes. It's Shelli. My mother had to help make it unique.
Of course.
And then, of course, Jarvis is Jarvis. So,
okay.
shellijarvis.com
Awesome.
or hello@shellijarvis.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been great.
Fun.
I love it. Every time I talk to you, I
energy,
feel
Lindsay.
enriched.
Yeah, likewise. It's so fun to work with you. So,
and thank you so much to all viewers and listeners out there. This is Lindsay Kline with Kline, honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. And you can find me at sakline.com, SAKLINE.com. And my email address is info@sakline.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, bye-bye.
By the Books is presented by Kline, honest, accurate bookkeeping performed on time. For more information on Kline services or to get a hold of Lindsay, visit sakline.com or email info@sakline.com.
The information provided on this website and podcast does not and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, and materials available are for general information purposes only. Information provided by Kline may not constitute the most up-to-date legal or other information. Listeners should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter and should refrain from acting on the basis of this information without first seeking legal advice from counsel in the relevant jurisdiction. Only your individual attorney can provide assurances that the information contained herein and your interpretation of it is applicable or appropriate to your particular situation.